I never thought that this person could do this to me, but the fact remains that she did, and I have to admit it. That was the moment when I felt that it was a collapse. But then something happened that brought me back to life. Find out how it all turned out in the end. It completely changed my world forever. The thunder cracked like the sky was splitting itself open, but inside the apartment, it was just dim and silent, except for the faint hum of the fridge and the low purr of the storm outside. I stood in the kitchen, pouring whiskey into a chipped glass, watching the way the rain distorted the city lights through the windows. Julia used to hate weather like this. She'd flinch with every bolt of lightning, mutter that she couldn't sleep when the world sounded like it was falling apart. That's how I knew something was wrong, because tonight she was out on the balcony, phone in hand, lips moving, and smiling like she was somewhere else entirely. Calm, at peace, like the storm didn't exist. I didn't say anything when she came back in, damp hair clinging to her cheeks, her smile lingering just a second too long before she noticed me watching. She said she just needed air, that the rain felt nice, that she was trying to face her fear. I nodded, kissed her on the forehead. Let her believe I bought the lie, but I already knew. I'd noticed it in little things, how she'd angle her phone screen away, the new lingerie tags I found buried in the trash, how she suddenly kept locking the bathroom door during her long showers. Still, none of it was hard proof. Not until tonight. She didn't know the balcony cam still worked. She thought I had disconnected it months ago when we argued about privacy, but I never did. And now I watched, heart clenched, as the grainy footage played back. She leaned against the railing, backlit by flashes of lightning, her voice almost drowned by the thunder. But I heard it, clear enough. 5 minutes, and I'm yours. That was all she said, but it was enough to kill something. I sat there for a long time after that. I didn't rage, didn't scream or break anything. I just let the quiet dig into my chest like broken glass. Then I stood up, walked to the garage, and opened the lid of her old laptop, the one she used before we both got matching tablets. The thing was dusty, but when I booted it up, I didn't need a password. She never updated the security on this one. Her mistake. The Messenger app blinked open like a confession waiting to happen. The photo was there first. Smiling, smug, dimpled. Some guy who looked like he got paid to sell overpriced whiskey and pretend he cared about people's dreams. Next to it, the name, Randy. I swear I almost laughed. It was too damn fitting. A guy named Randy stealing another man's wife. It was like something out of a trashy soap opera. And there they were. Dozens of messages. Some flirty. Some desperate. Some vulgar in a way that didn't sound like her voice at all. They talked about the final step, about how close they were, about how she wished she didn't have to lie anymore. And there it was, the twist of the knife. Not that she cheated, not that she lied, but that she wanted a future with this guy, that she saw herself as something incomplete until he showed up. I stared at the screen until it blurred, not from fatigue, but from something hotter, crueler, pressing behind my eyes. I felt nothing for a minute. Then I felt everything all at once. Still, I didn't confront her. What was the point? She'd just deny it, twist it, cry until I started questioning what I saw. Instead, I stayed quiet. I shut the laptop, locked the garage, and planned. Something about her ease, how she smiled after lying in the rain, made me realize that silence would scare her more than rage ever could. That pretending everything was fine while I built my case would make her unravel without me ever lifting my voice. I wasn't going to lose my mind over her. I was going to take my time, because if she thought the storm was over, she hadn't seen what I could do when the sky finally cleared. I told work I was burned out, said I needed a week, maybe 2, to reset my head. My boss offered a retreat voucher, something in the mountains, but I turned it down with a smile. I didn't need a retreat. I needed a quiet place to light a match, and I needed both hands free to hold it steady. So I logged off, let the silence grow around me, and spent the next 20 hours crafting a man. Not a mask, not a fantasy, a perfect digital version of him. Randy. The dating site profile was sickeningly easy to set up. His face taken straight from the photo on her messenger. I boosted it with details she had already given me in secret without even knowing. Her type, her turn-ons, her favorite lies. The profile description was just subtle enough to seem real, confident enough to be irresistible. I didn't need 100 women to fall for him. I just needed one. And within minutes of going live, she did. She used a new name, Jay Heartstrong. I almost choked when I saw it, as if adding strong to her alias somehow erased what she was doing, as if it gave her permission to cheat boldly. She messaged first, sent 3 photos in the first hour, one of her smiling from the gym, another in bed with just a tank top on, and the third, no words, just a mirror, soft light, and the lingerie I had found the tag for 2 weeks earlier in the trash. I could have stopped right there, but I didn't. I wanted to know everything. I wanted her to open up to Randy the way she never had to me. So I played the role. The flirt, the listener, the man who understood her hunger, her aching need to feel dangerous again. It was all about risk with her. She wasn't escaping something cruel. She was chasing the thrill of being someone else, someone who didn't have a husband checking the thermostat or remembering her mom's birthday. Over the next 3 weeks, she told me everything. Fantasies I'd never heard before. Details that burned. She said things about our home, about our life, about me, things that didn't cut like knives. They cut like razors. Thin, fast, precise. Always just deep enough to bleed. But I didn't react. I stayed silent in real life. Cooked dinner, asked her how her day was. Let her believe I was tired, distracted, distant. In her mind, she probably thought I was drifting away, maybe even guilty about something. I watched her float on that illusion like it was a soft raft on a pool of gasoline. Then I struck the match. She belonged to this fitness chat group. It was sacred to her, a digital temple of constant affirmations and You Go Girl slogans. They shared recipes, workouts, relationship rants. She once told me that her real friends were there, not in the outside world. It was her tribe, her religion. So I took one of our recent chats, hers and Randy's. I picked the worst one, the one where she described what she wanted to do to him the next time they met. No filters, no shame, just raw, ugly desire. I didn't post the full exchange, just enough, just a sliver. I added no caption, no context, just her profile photo and the conversation beneath it, sent anonymously. And then I walked away from my screen like it was a detonator. The explosion took hours to reach full strength, but when it did, it spread like wildfire. The chat erupted. Screenshots started circulating. Julia's phone buzzed nonstop one night. I could hear the notifications going off in the kitchen, even as she tried to fake laugh her way through dinner. The next day, she didn't go to the gym, didn't answer her phone. She was out of the group, kicked, banished. She tried to act normal for a day or two after, like it didn't matter. But I saw the twitch behind her eyes, the endless scrolling, the way she double-checked her privacy settings and logged out of everything. At night, I'd hear her cry in the shower with the water on full blast. I almost felt something, sympathy maybe, but then I remembered her voice on the balcony. 5 minutes, and I'm yours. No, this was just the beginning, because some people break when you scream at them, but others, like Julia, crack apart under silence, when everything they counted on suddenly turns to mist. I wasn't going to shout. I was going to remove everything she loved, one invisible string at a time, until she realized how naked she'd become. And the worst part? She still didn't know who Randy really was. She didn't even hesitate that night, didn't stutter, didn't pause at the door. She walked past me with that same breezy lie, "I'm just grabbing drinks with the girls," and vanished into the night in a new coat I'd never seen before. Black, tight, sharp shoulders. She didn't know I'd tagged her car with a tracker 2 days ago. I knew exactly where she was headed, 20 miles across town to a sleek little rooftop bar, built for soft lighting and heavy secrets. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. I'd already hacked the place's private security feed the week prior. A friend owed me a favor. I watched from home, her smile, the way she leaned in when Randy showed up, the fake one, the flesh and blood liar that had slid between the cracks of our life. He hugged her like they'd done this 10 times before. She laughed like it was her first time being truly seen. And in that moment, something inside me didn't break. It calcified, hardened into something unmovable. She came home late, breathless, said the girls got emotional. One of them was going through a divorce. She hugged me from behind, gently, like guilt had just brushed up against her spine. I didn't flinch. I didn't even blink. I said I was glad she was there for her friend. She smiled into my back. I smiled at the wall. That morning, while she slept like nothing mattered, I ordered the banner. It took 3 days to arrive. 6 feet tall, 12 feet wide. The photo I picked was from that same rooftop night, her and Randy at the bar, his hand grazing her waist, her eyes halfway closed, mid-laugh. I added the caption in heavy black text, no flourish, no extra style, just brutal honesty. A woman who plays two roles, at home and in bed. The print shop didn't ask questions. They never do. People order all kinds of things in this city. But when I rolled it out across the yard early Saturday morning, just as the sun started to punch through the clouds, I felt something unfamiliar. Not satisfaction, not triumph. Just a kind of cold clarity, like I'd opened every window in a house full of rot. I timed it perfectly. Her mother was visiting that day, the sweet woman who once called me her second son. Julia had forgotten the visit until her mother texted she was 2 blocks away. I watched from the upstairs window as Julia stepped into the front yard, still adjusting her blouse, still trying to brush off the haze of whatever lie she'd wrapped herself in. And then she saw it. She didn't scream right away. Her breath just left her like she'd been punched. Her knees bent a little. She staggered. The banner flapped once in the wind like applause. Her mother's car slowed to a stop. I saw her face through the windshield. Confusion first, then recognition, then something worse. I didn't need to hear the words exchanged. I saw Julia try to explain, hand gestures wild, her voice sharp and breaking. Her mother didn't even get out of the car, just turned it around and drove off. Julia stood in the yard for a while after that. She didn't come inside immediately. She just stared at the banner like she hoped it would burn itself down if she stared hard enough. Then she finally came in, her face soaked but not from rain. She didn't speak, not a word, just dropped her keys on the counter like she was already gone. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't call her a single name. I just looked at her and said, "Leave the keys." That silence, how heavy it hit, was louder than any scream. She tried to say something. Her lips moved, but the words died in her throat. Maybe she thought there was a chance to explain it all away. Maybe she was about to say, it wasn't what it looked like. But even she knew the script had worn too thin. There was nothing left to sell. She packed a small bag that night, left without slamming a single door, and the next morning the banner was still up, sunlight bouncing off it like it was the damn flag of a new nation I'd founded alone. One without lies, one without her. But I wasn't done, not even close, because shame fades fast, and I needed to make sure the rot didn't just get exposed. I needed it to fester. I needed her to sit with it long enough that she'd forget what comfort ever felt like. There was still more to show her, more weight to add to the hollow in her chest, and I had just the right scent to bring back the man she thought she loved. The next morning, I packed her life into 7 boxes, not 10, not 12, just 7. Enough to hold what she had left here after dragging pieces of herself elsewhere. Her books, makeup trays, extra shoes, favorite sweaters, folded not with care, but with precision, like I was cataloging evidence. I didn't throw anything. I didn't tear the pages from her journals or smash the ceramic mugs she collected from every vacation. I wanted it all intact. I wanted her to see how easily a home could be dismantled without a single crack. I lined the boxes by the door like I was preparing them for shipment. Then I added one more thing, the diffuser. It wasn't just any scent. It was the exact one Randy wore. Sharp, woodsy, a little sweet. I'd sniffed it once on her scarf weeks ago, and the name came to me later in a hotel catalog. I ordered it immediately. It arrived 2 days before the dinner. I unboxed it that morning, soaked the reeds, and let the aroma bloom over the boxes like a quiet accusation. When she came to pick up her things, it would hit her first. Before the notes, before the memories. That smell. the scent of someone else's victory. She arrived around sunset. She didn't knock, just tried the door and stepped inside like she still had the right. Her eyes went to the boxes first, then to the diffuser. She said my name, soft and raw, but I didn't respond. I just gestured to the boxes and asked her if she had room in her car. She didn't move. She looked smaller than I remembered, like her spine had collapsed a little under the weight of it all. And still, she tried to talk. I didn't know what I wanted, she whispered. A pathetic shield. Her voice didn't sound like Julia anymore. It sounded like the ghost of someone trying to rehearse grief. I told her I understood. I even smiled. That seemed to throw her off. She blinked, stunned, and I watched a spark of desperate hope light in her eyes. So I offered her dinner. She hesitated, said she wasn't sure if it was a good idea. I said I'd already made reservations and that it might be easier to part ways with something human, something real, rather than ending things in silence. I was calm. I was warm. I was the man she remembered from years ago. The one who would hold her hand after an argument and talk her back down to herself. She agreed. We didn't go out. I lied. I set the table in the kitchen instead. Candles, low lights, 2 glasses of wine poured but untouched. I served a simple meal, her favorite, roasted salmon with lemon and dill. She took the first bite with shaking hands, kept darting her eyes around like she expected me to snap at any moment. But I didn't. I made soft conversation, asked her how work was, if she'd heard from her mother, if she'd found a place to stay. Then I placed the laptop on the table. She looked at it like it might detonate. I told her I had something to share, something I thought she should hear before she left my life for good. And before she could answer, I clicked play. The screen stayed black, just a static image, audio only. But the voices came in sharp. First, Randy's laugh. Then his words, lazy and cruel, like he was pouring scorn over a campfire and watching it sizzle. I've got 2 more like her, he said. This one's just dumber. He laughed again. So did another man, a voice she didn't recognize. They talked about women like cards in a deck. Who was the easiest? Who sent the best photos? Who would cave first when he stopped texting back? Julia didn't blink at first. Then her face crumpled in slow motion. She tried to reach for the laptop, maybe to shut it, maybe to throw it, but I slid it just out of reach. The audio kept playing. She thinks I'm into her soul or whatever, Randy said. I'm just here until I get bored. Probably next week. That's when she vomited. It hit the table first. Half the wine, half the salmon. All of her pride. She gagged and tried to turn, but it was too late. It splattered across the candle, sizzled. I didn't move. I didn't help. I just sat there, watching her break apart into wet gasps and trembling hands, the sound of Randy still echoing through the speakers behind her. She turned to me with red eyes and a mouthful of something that looked like regret, but I didn't give her the dignity of a reaction. I let the silence stretch. Eventually, she pushed herself away from the table, staggered to the sink, rinsed her mouth, and cried so softly I almost couldn't hear it over the dishwasher hum. She didn't say another word. She just stood there back to me, her hands clutching the edge of the sink like she might collapse if she let go. I stood, took the laptop with me, and walked out of the kitchen. I didn't slam any doors. I didn't lock them either. I just went to bed. The last sound I heard before falling asleep was the quiet click of the front door as she let herself out. I disappeared for a few days after that dinner. Not because I needed distance, but because I wanted to give her space to sit in her own mess without me mopping anything up. I shut off my phone, turned off the apartment lights, and drove 3 hours north just to feel air that hadn't been shared with her. I didn't answer texts. I didn't post a thing. I vanished like she never existed, and in that silence, something inside me settled. When I came back, the apartment was untouched, still quiet, still cold, but the scent of the diffuser had finally faded. I walked through the place barefoot, lights off, letting the emptiness echo around me like proof of victory. She was gone, but not out of sight. A mutual friend, the kind who always talked too much when nervous, mentioned her in passing. She's staying out by that old festival site. You know, the trailers they rent in summer? He meant it as gossip. To me, it was a goddamn invitation. The irony struck me immediately. She had returned to a place where we once laughed together under paper lanterns and cheap wine. A trailer we'd rented for a weekend festival 5 years ago, before everything frayed, before she started needing more than what she had. That place had held music and heat and the smell of sunscreen and beer. Now it held her alone, like a souvenir of someone she used to be. So I rented the trailer next to hers. She didn't see me the first day, I made sure of it. I arrived just before sunset, parked quietly, walked around like a stranger, casual. Then that night, I started my work. I set up speakers in my window, aimed just toward hers. Nothing too loud, just enough to be heard clearly. I played music she hated, that synth-heavy pop she'd always said gave her migraines. I laughed with the windows open, spoke loudly on speakerphone to no one in particular, always a woman's voice on the other end. I let conversations trail off at the exact moment they might sound intimate. At first, she just shut her blinds. Then she started pacing. I watched her shadow move behind the curtains, erratic, like a trapped animal. On the third night, she screamed something at the wall. I couldn't make out the words, but I heard the desperation in them. I turned the music up half a notch, not enough to break any rules, just enough to let her know she wasn't alone, not even in her exile. I never confronted her, never knocked. I let her know I was there the way a storm warns you it's coming back, with a breeze, with shifting light, with the kind of stillness that makes you sweat. She started leaving during the day, disappearing for hours, but always came back before nightfall, as if part of her still believed that maybe, just maybe, I was going to give her another chance. I wasn't. Every night I invited someone over, a different girl each time, most of them friends who knew the game I was playing. They weren't there for sex or comfort. They were there to play a part, laugh loudly, slam car doors, take selfies near the trailer. I made sure the angles caught just enough. A shoulder, a laugh, my face half lit like I was finally happy again. And I was. In pieces, anyway. I saw her once, accidentally, early morning. She was walking back from the bathroom trailer in slippers, a hoodie pulled over her head. No makeup, face pale, eyes sunken. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. She saw me and froze. I just sipped my coffee and walked past her without a word. She stood there, trembling, mouth opening like she wanted to say something. But I didn't slow down. That night, she lost it. I heard her banging against the wall, sobbing into something soft. Probably a pillow, maybe just her hands. She was talking to someone on the phone. I only caught fragments. I ruined everything, and he won't even look at me. And finally, I don't know how to fix it. The trailer walls were thin. Her pain was no longer private. She was unraveling where everyone could hear, and still I didn't intervene. Because pain, when hidden, can be healed. But pain on display? It lingers. It echoes. And now she was forced to live with herself, without the softening of denial, without the shelter of fantasy. She'd always needed attention. Now she had it, from the one person who no longer cared. She finally stopped howling around the fifth night. Something inside her must have snapped, finally drained enough to collapse in on itself. The next morning, her curtains stayed closed, and the usual trail of cigarette butts outside her trailer vanished. The silence wasn't peace, it was surrender. But just because she quieted down didn't mean the game was over. She was still watching. I knew it the second I saw a familiar fake account pop up on my feed. New name, no posts, but the same pathetic mistake, using an old photo of our dog as the profile icon. She couldn't even cover her tracks properly anymore. And that was exactly the moment Tina stepped into frame. Tina wasn't some act of revenge. She didn't come out of spite. She came from quiet, the way steady things do. We'd met through mutual friends, someone I hadn't even spoken to in years until the banner scandal stirred the pot. Tina was calm in a way that didn't dull the room. She wasn't flashy. She didn't need to be. She had this quiet gravity, like the world tilted toward her without her asking it to. When I brought her home, I didn't tell her anything about Julia. Tina didn't ask. She was the kind of woman who knew that some stories weren't ready to be told yet, and instead of prying, she baked cookies and asked about my bookshelf. It felt like oxygen for the first time in months, breathing that didn't require effort, presence without damage. On a slow Sunday morning, I took a short video of us in the kitchen. We weren't kissing, we weren't posing, we were laughing. Tina had accidentally dropped flour all over the floor and tried to sweep it with a paper towel while I teased her about wasting sugar. The video was maybe 30 seconds long, no caption, just the kind of moment real couples forget to record. But I made sure it got posted. Julia saw it within an hour. She didn't like the post. Of course not. She wasn't stupid. But that fake account watched every story, every reel. I could practically feel the weight of her stare through the screen. The ache of seeing me happy, really happy. And not just with anyone, with someone who didn't scream, didn't cheat, didn't need to lie to feel alive. That same night, Julia cracked. She posted something first, on a burner profile that tried to pass for poetic. A blurry photo of a wine bottle on a balcony. The caption, "Monsters don't always roar, sometimes they smile." I laughed out loud when I saw it. She still thought she had control over the story, still believed she could cast herself as the victim, as the woman who was broken by the man she betrayed. But no one took the bait. No one commented. The post just sat there, cold and lifeless, like her version of reality had finally gone stale. So she messaged me, from that same account. One line, "You don't have to destroy me." I replied with a photo, not of Tina, not of me. It was a picture from our first hike together, back when Julia and I had just started dating. She was standing on a hill, cheeks red, sun in her eyes, smiling like the world hadn't touched her yet. I'd taken it while she wasn't looking. She used to say it was her favorite picture of herself. I captioned it simply, "I knew a better you. Shame you didn't." She didn't respond, but the next day a package showed up at my door. No note, just a bottle of wine and a pair of old movie tickets from that same trip. She was trying to dig her claws into something that didn't exist anymore. I didn't open the wine. I didn't even touch it. Just threw it in the trash unopened and slid the tickets into a drawer. An artifact from another world, buried but not forgotten. And still, she watched. I started posting more with Tina, not to prove anything, but because I could, because I was done hiding. We visited parks, did a charity bake sale, hosted a game night with friends. Every moment captured without a hint of irony. I wasn't putting on a show. I was showing what she'd lost. The kind of life she could have had if she hadn't been so desperate to feel wanted by someone who only wanted the thrill of her destruction. Tina never asked why I smiled when I saw another story view from that ghost profile. She just touched my arm gently, as if to say, "Whatever it is, it'll pass." And maybe it would, but not yet, because I wasn't done. There was still one more piece to drop. One last reminder that Julia hadn't just made a mistake. She'd made 5, and I still had 2 left to show her. It was a Thursday evening when she came to my door. I knew it was her before I even checked the peephole. There was this strange stillness in the hallway, like the air was waiting. I opened the door and there she stood, pale and exhausted, clutching a bottle of wine like it was some kind of peace offering. No makeup, no polished expression. Just her, stripped raw by weeks of silence and watching. She said my name once, barely above a whisper. Her voice cracked on it. I didn't answer, just stepped aside, let her walk in. She did so cautiously, like a thief returning to the scene. Her eyes scanned the place, spotless, warm, filled with small signs of another life. Tina's book on the coffee table, a cozy blanket over the couch, a faint trail of cinnamon in the air from the cookies we'd baked last night. She hovered near the dining table like she was waiting to be invited to sit. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. "I understand everything now," she said. Her voice shook, but not from fear, from the exhaustion of losing the mask. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." I finally sat down, leaned back in the chair, watched her like she was part of a story I'd already finished reading. She asked to talk. I nodded once, slow, gave her that. She poured 2 glasses of wine, slid one across the table to me. I didn't touch it. She launched into everything, memories, regrets, half-reasons dressed as epiphanies. She said she didn't know who she was back then. She was confused, lonely, needed to feel something different. She admitted Randy was just a mirror, that what she was chasing wasn't him. It was a version of herself that didn't exist anymore. I let her talk. When she finally stopped, breathing hard like she'd run a race with her guilt strapped to her chest, I pulled something from my pocket and set it down between us. A small, clear bottle. Inside it, a bent strip of aluminum. At first, she thought it was a keepsake. Then she saw the tiny engraving, and her face went white. 3 of 5. Her lip trembled. What is that? These, I said quietly, are episodes of your mistakes. She stared at it like it was radioactive. Why? 3? I smiled. Not kind, not cruel, just final. 2 left. Her mouth opened like she wanted to scream, but nothing came out. Not a word, not a plea, just a soft exhale that sounded like surrender. She reached for my hand across the table. I didn't pull away, but I didn't close the distance either. I let her fingers hover over mine, inches away, like one last cruel kindness. She stood, slowly, like her body was made of stone and memory. She didn't ask for forgiveness again, didn't demand closure. She just looked around the apartment one more time, like she was trying to memorize the warmth, and I let her go. She walked to the door, paused, turned one last time. You're not the same person, she said. You're colder. I nodded. Number, I'm free. She left. I stood in the hallway for a while after the door clicked shut. Just stood there, hand in my pocket, fingers brushing against another metal shard. 4 of 5. Hidden. Waiting. No one knew what it was for. Not even me. Not yet. But it didn't matter. Because she did. And that was enough. I walked back into the kitchen where Tina was waiting, stirring hot cocoa. She looked up, eyebrows raised, no questions in her eyes. Just curiosity. I gave her a smile that was real this time. Heavy. Human. Behind me, the hallway was empty again. Ahead of me, the future had no shadow. That's all for now, folks. Thank you for being with me today and listened. And if you liked my story, please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below what you think about all this, and what would you do if you were me. Also, don't forget to check my other stories in description below.